Well, the Human Rights Commission says it believes that in situations where individuals are believed to be trapped in disused mines or participating in perilous activities, it is imperative to implement measures that prioritize the preservation of lives. We get the perspective of the South African Human Rights Commission, and for that we are joined by Philile Ntuli, who is, of course, Commissioner of the South African Human Rights Commission. Philile, a good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. We've seen a wrap-up even of mop-up operations at Stilfontein's Shaft 11. It is the kind of conversation that has now gotten not just South Africa, but also the world talking about how the country dealt with those that have been underground for months, and how we may or may not have assisted to preserve lives at that point. Perhaps your rating of how the South African government has dealt with the matter since November, for instance, and perhaps even earlier than that, and where you measure the respect for human rights in that discussion.
Naledi, thank you so much for inviting us to your show. Good evening to you and good evening to your viewers at home. As the South African Human Rights Commission, we recognize that as a nation, we are experiencing a moment of a national tragedy. The loss of life is highly tragic, and we would like to send our condolences to the families who have lost their loved ones. But we also wish to send our messages of compassion, messages of heartfelt empathies to those who are injured as a result of what has happened in Stilfontein. You are quite correct when you say that a primary concern for the South African Human Rights Commission is the sacrosanct right to life. We have, since late last year, when we received the first complaint about what is happening in Stilfontein, we have sent our monitors to the ground, and we have been represented in Stilfontein since late last year to date. And our participation in Stilfontein has prioritized the sacrosanct right to life. We are very, very concerned, not just by the role of government, but our collective role as a society, a national society. As the South African Human Rights Commission, we have not only been monitoring what's happening on the ground, but we have also been conducting investigations as to what it is that is happening. Part of our concern is the focus of the national discourse, both from government as well as society at large, which seems to assume that the problem before us is a problem of foreign nationals, a problem of criminals who have out of their own will gone underground. As the South African Human Rights Commission, we've said that the problem is more complex than that. And we are advising the nation as a whole, and not just government, but the nation as a whole, to shy away from focusing on the foreign nationals as though they are the instigators of the problem. The problem, as we are identifying it, is complex in the sense that it has multiple nodes of responsibility. Primary to us as the South African Human Rights Commission is the role of the mining license holder. And I'd love for us to go at length or more in depth around the role of the mining license holder in this discourse. And there seems to be a silence or a silencing of the role of the mining license holder, which then inadvertently and unintentionally absolves those who should be primarily responsible of their responsibilities.
Okay, so then let's go there, because I think that then speaks to where the South African Human Rights Commission would like to see accountability come from. Earlier this week, we had the Minister for Mineral Resources visit Stilfontein, and when asked about, who takes, I suppose, the onus of what happens at this mine at Stilfontein, the minister himself saying that this is not a derelict mine. This is a mine that still has ownership, and he mentioned the Buffelsfontein Gold Company. Is that where you're pointing your finger at?
This is a subject of ongoing questioning, ongoing investigation on the part of the South African Human Rights Commission. And we are asking various questions around the roles and responsibilities of multiple stakeholders. Equally, we are asking what is the legislative and policy duty and the responsibility of the government itself, the Department of Mineral Resources, the Department of Police, in relation to what has happened in Stilfontein. And equally, we are asking, what is the role in terms of the enabling legislation, and in this regard, the MPRDA? What is the responsibility of the mining license holder as it pertains to the mine? We had primarily been informed that this is a disused mine, and therefore it was subject to rehabilitation. Subsequently, as you have also just noted, we are informed that this mine has not been closed. And therefore, these questions we are asking are ongoing, which seem to ask, then if this mine is not closed, how is it that for so long we have had so many bodies 2 kilometers underground with this operation ongoing for so long? During our monitoring activities, we were informed, for example, Naledi, by one of the miners who emerged, and some of the miners we had been interviewing. One of the miners informed us that they had not seen the light of day, meaning they had not emerged from 2 kilometers underground since 2021. That is around 4 years ago. So if this operation has been ongoing for that long, what has been the role of the mining company or the mining license holder? These questions are yet unanswered, but we are subjecting them to scrutiny as the South African Human Rights Commission, to the extent that we have decided to hold a policy dialogue on the 31st of January this year. And this is as urgently as we possibly can. And we are bringing all concerned parties to the table. This includes civil society, academia, the government, and the private sector. And we want to ask pertinent questions to each other about both legislation as well as policy. And we want to subject some of these questions to scrutiny from the multiple sectors of society. Who is responsible? What have they done? What have they not done? What should they have done? And what does the law say about how we should hold them accountable?
Right. And so we look forward to seeing the unfolding of that policy dialogue on the 31st of January. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Philile Ntuli is Commissioner of the South African Human Rights Commission, speaking to us on the rights angle, really where the Stilfontein illegal mining saga is unfolding.